Welcome to ScaleUp Radio Shorts, the podcast that brings you the highlights and the key takeaways from our in-depth interviews with inspiring entrepreneurs. I'm Kevin Brent.
And I'm Granger Forson. We're the founders of Smart 90, the proven 90-day execution system for scaling businesses.
Smart 90 is all about taking the guesswork out of scaling. We provide a structured, step-by-step process that helps businesses achieve rapid and sustainable growth.
And in this podcast, we'll dissect the strategies, challenges, and triumphs of successful entrepreneurs, giving you actionable insights you can apply to your own business journey.
Today, we're diving into conversations with two dynamic founders, Dan Tennakoon of RE24, an enterprise platform for managing renewable energy, and Raluca Epureanu of Flairmakers, a talent-on-demand platform for the hospitality industry.
Dan, as CEO of RE24, is tackling the complex world of renewable energy, while Raluca, the founder of Flairmakers, is addressing the talent shortage in the hospitality sector. Both face unique challenges and opportunities as they scale their businesses.
One of the first hurdles any founder faces is securing that initial funding. Dan and Raluca took very different paths here, and it's fascinating to see how those choices played out. Dan bootstrapped RE24 initially, and he supplemented that with a government grant. What drove that decision, and what were some of the key learnings from that experience, Granger?
It's interesting, Kevin, because that approach really shaped RE24's early trajectory. Bootstrapping forced Dan to be incredibly lean and focus on proving product market fit before seeking outside investment. The grant provided a crucial boost, but it also came with its own set of challenges and reporting requirements.
Raluca went the friends and family route, raising a substantial amount to get Flairmakers off the ground. How did Raluca navigate that process, and what were some of the unexpected complexities she encountered?
Raluca's experience highlights the pros and cons of raising capital from loved ones. While it provided a quick injection of cash and came with a built-in level of trust, she later realized that she hadn't fully grasped the complexities of valuation and investor relations. It was a valuable lesson learned, and she adjusted her approach for subsequent funding rounds.
It's a classic founder's dilemma, isn't it? The pressure to get to market quickly versus the need to secure enough runway to really scale. Dan's approach allowed him to retain more equity initially, but it also meant slower growth. Raluca gained speed, but had to navigate the nuances of early-stage valuation and investor expectations. Both paths have their merits and drawbacks, and it often comes down to the individual circumstances and risk tolerance of the founder. Beyond funding, another significant challenge for founders is building credibility, especially when entering a new market. Dan spoke about the difficulty of establishing RE24's reputation in the renewable energy sector, particularly when dealing with large corporations. He wasn't a known entity and had to work tirelessly to demonstrate his value proposition. How did he approach that? And what advice would he give to other founders facing similar challenges?
Dan's approach was all about demonstrating value and building trust. He focused on personally connecting with potential clients and showcasing the tangible benefits of RE24's platform. He also talked about the importance of securing early wins, even small ones, to build momentum and credibility.
Raluca's situation was somewhat different. She's had a long career in the hospitality industry, which gave her a network of contacts and a deep understanding of the market. How did she leverage those connections to build Flairmakers' credibility, and what role did that play in her early success?
Raluca's existing network was undoubtedly a significant asset. It allowed her to gain early access to potential clients and partners, validate her business model, and establish Flairmakers as a serious player in the market. However, it's also important to note that even with established connections, building credibility still requires demonstrating tangible value and delivering on your promises.
Absolutely. And alongside the challenge of credibility comes the often unspoken struggle of loneliness. Both Dan and Raluca spoke candidly about the isolating experience of being a founder. Dan described it as lonely beyond comprehension and highlighted the contrast with the built-in support network of a corporate environment. How did he cope with that loneliness, and what strategies did he put in place to build a support system around himself?
Dan emphasized the importance of actively seeking out other founders and entrepreneurs. He attended startup events, joined accelerator programs, and built relationships with people who understood the unique challenges of starting and scaling a business. It was about creating a community where he could share his experiences, seek advice, and find support.
Raluca also spoke about the isolation of being a solo founder, at least initially. How did she address that, and what role did her team play in providing that sense of connection and support?
For Raluca, building a strong team was crucial not only for the success of Flairmakers, but also for her own well-being. She surrounded herself with talented individuals who shared her vision and passion, creating a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. She also emphasized the importance of having mentors and advisors who could provide guidance and support.
Another key takeaway from both interviews was the undeniable importance of building a strong team. Both Dan and Raluca highlighted how crucial their teams were, not just for the operational aspects of their businesses, but also for their personal well-being and resilience. Granger, let's start with Dan's experience. He spoke about how his team formed quite organically, didn't he?
Yes, Dan's team building was a fascinating example of how the right people can come together at the right time. He connected with his co-founder and CTO through their shared MBA program, which allowed them to develop a strong working relationship and shared vision before even launching RE24. This organic approach, driven by mutual respect and trust, seems to have laid a solid foundation for their company.
It's a great example of the power of networks and the unexpected places where you can find your future team members. Raluca, on the other hand, took a more strategic approach to building her team. She spoke about the importance of surrounding herself with individuals who brought expertise in areas where she felt less confident, particularly in technology.
Absolutely. Raluca's strategy highlights the importance of self-awareness as a founder. Recognizing your own strengths and weaknesses and building a team that complements those is essential for success. She brought on a co-founder with a strong tech background, and even her early investors brought valuable tech expertise to the table. This allowed her to focus on her strengths while ensuring that all aspects of the business were covered.
And she also talked about surrounding herself with other successful entrepreneurs who could act as advisors and mentors, which provided invaluable support and guidance, especially in the early stages. Both approaches, while different, demonstrate the critical role that teams play in the startup journey, both for the success of the business and for the well-being of the founder. Let's move on now to discuss the business models of RE24 and Flairmakers. Their approaches to revenue generation are quite different, reflecting the distinct nature of their businesses. Dan, with RE24, explained that their revenue comes from transaction fees paid by the energy users, the large corporations purchasing renewable energy rather than from the energy generators themselves. What did you make of that approach, Granger?
It's a clever model, Kevin. By focusing on the buyers, RE24 incentivizes renewable energy generators to join the platform, offering them access to a large pool of potential customers without charging them any fees. This creates a win-win situation where RE24 facilitates the transaction and earns revenue while promoting the adoption of renewable energy.
Exactly. And it simplifies the process for the energy generators, who can focus on producing renewable energy rather than on finding buyers. Raluca, with Flairmakers, has a different revenue model. She explained that they earn a commission on each transaction between freelancers and hospitality businesses.
Yes, Flairmakers operates more like a traditional marketplace, connecting supply and demand and taking a cut of each successful match. It's a proven model in many industries, and it aligns well with the talent-on-demand nature of the hospitality sector.
It does. And Raluca also highlighted their commitment to paying freelancers instantly, which is a significant differentiator in a market where delayed payments are often a pain point for gig workers. This focus on freelancer well-being aligns with their mission-driven approach and likely helps them attract and retain top talent.
Absolutely. It's a smart strategy that benefits both Flairmakers and the freelancers they work with. Both Dan and Raluca, despite their different business models, demonstrated a strong understanding of their target markets and a clear strategy for generating revenue and managing their finances, which is crucial for any scaling business.
So, moving on from their business models, let's talk about the long-term visions of our guests. Dan, with his sights set on a future IPO, has a very clear exit strategy in mind for RE24. Granger, what are your thoughts on this approach?
Well, Kevin, aiming for an IPO is a classic ambition for many entrepreneurs, and it provides a tangible measure of success and a potential route to a significant financial return. It's a bold goal, and it requires a strong focus on growth and profitability, which can be a powerful driver for a scaling business.
Absolutely. And it requires a different mindset compared to building a lifestyle business. Raluca, on the other hand, emphasized the mission-driven nature of Flairmakers, with a focus on empowering hospitality professionals and addressing the skills gap in the industry.
Yes, Raluca's vision is more about creating a sustainable impact within the hospitality sector, rather than solely pursuing a financial exit. She's building a business with a purpose, which can be very motivating for her team and can attract customers and investors who align with her values.
Precisely. And while Dan's IPO goal is more financially driven, his vision for RE24 also includes contributing to a more sustainable energy future. Both guests, despite their different approaches, are aiming to create businesses that leave a positive mark on the world. So, Granger, as we wrap up this episode of ScaleUp Radio Shorts, what key takeaways resonated with you from our discussions about Dan and Raluca's journeys?
Both stories highlight the diverse paths to success in the startup world. Dan's bootstrapping, grant funding, and focus on a future IPO contrast sharply with Raluca's friends and family funding, round and mission-driven approach. Yet, both emphasize the importance of a strong team, customer focus, and meticulous planning.
Exactly. Their experiences offer valuable lessons for entrepreneurs at all stages, from navigating initial funding challenges to building credibility and overcoming the loneliness of the founder's journey.
And the importance of having a clear long-term vision, whether it's an IPO or a broader societal impact, is clear from both stories.
Absolutely. We hope you found these insights as valuable as we did. To hear the full, unedited conversations with Dan Tennakoon of RE24 and Raluca Epureanu of Flairmakers, simply search for ScaleUp Radio wherever you listen to your podcasts.
And don't forget to subscribe to ScaleUp Radio Shorts for more bite-sized insights from inspiring entrepreneurs. A big thank you to Smart90, the proven 90-day execution system for scaling businesses, for making this podcast possible. We'll be back soon with more inspiring stories and actionable advice to help you scale your business to new heights.
In the meantime, we wish you continued success on your scale-up journey.